Today, we are taking a look at the Earth, in its current state and in the future. But before we go into that, why can humans live on Earth in the first place? The Goldilocks principle states that the Earth is just the right distance from the Sun, making it just the right temperature for life. Its size is also just right. Too big, and the gravitational pull would make the atmosphere so thick life couldn't breathe. Too little, and its gravitational pull would be too small, and the atmosphere would simply go into space, and the planet would freeze. The enhanced greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect. Extreme weather. They're getting all too common in the year 2050.
But what is the enhanced greenhouse effect and the natural greenhouse effect? The natural greenhouse effect itself is a good thing for the Earth, but how does it work? The Sun emits electromagnetic solar radiation. This passes through the Earth's atmosphere freely, which means that some of the radiation is absorbed by Earth, but some of it is reflected as heat. The greenhouse gases trap some of this heat and warm the atmosphere of the Earth. The greenhouse gases contained in the Earth's atmosphere are carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, and water vapor. These gases also reflect a lot of energy back into space that is received from the Sun. The Sun emits 99% electromagnetic radiation. The other 1% that it emits consists of ultraviolet rays and infrared radiation. Electromagnetic radiation is in the form of visible light. The greenhouse gases help reflect this radiation back into space, but a lot of it is still absorbed into the Earth. The Sun emits about 120 watts per square meter of energy to the Earth. Around 80 of these watts are absorbed into the Earth, and 40 are reflected as infrared radiation into space and back into the atmosphere.
However, without the gases, the surface temperature on Earth would drop down to negative 165 degrees Celsius at night, and negative 16 during the day. Too cold for life to exist. The greenhouse effect is essentially a blanket keeping the inside, Earth, warm, and not letting much heat escape into the outside, space. The enhanced greenhouse effect is a similar atmospheric effect, where the excessive amounts of CO2 that we are pumping into the atmosphere from factories burn fossil fuels, which lights a fire to create heat, which causes a lever to rotate round and round against magnetic fields, which then produces power. But as a byproduct, smoke is made, which has a lot of CO2 in it, and that is released into the atmosphere. Currently, we are pumping millions of tons of CO2 into the atmosphere, which is unbalancing Earth's natural atmospheric table, and is causing climate change and global warming. Climate is the type of weather in a large area over a long period of time, different to weather. The Earth also has a natural process of warming and cooling, but in the last century, we have seen massive quick increases of temperature, which is not just a natural cycle from the Earth. It has risen by a staggering 1.5 degrees since 1880's reading.
There is something that can help combat this, but we are destroying it. Forests. They absorb carbon dioxide and convert it into oxygen, but we are cutting all of these trees down. Deforestation. It is when big companies are removing forests for the land that they take up, or for the wood that they will gain from cutting the trees down. This means that there will not be enough trees to absorb all of the carbon dioxide we're emitting. And also, removing the trees creates more carbon dioxide. This causes the blanket wrapped around the Earth to get thicker and thicker, trapping more heat inside the atmosphere of the Earth. This is the enhanced greenhouse effect, and it's a bad thing, as it could make Earth uninhabitable by any life in as short a time as one of our lifetimes. The rising amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere has caused the global temperature to rise about 1.5 degrees Celsius, as mentioned earlier. This is almost enough to bring the polar ice caps to their melting point of 1 degree Celsius. Also, because of increased temperature, more water evaporates from the Earth, making more rain in some areas, and no rain in other areas.
Cows also emit a high amount of CH4 due to the organic waste that they produce. This organic waste is methane, which is an extremely effective greenhouse gas. Methane is more effective as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide is, but currently is in much smaller amounts in the atmosphere. There are only traces. But these traces can get too high. What is the difference between them? Methane is around 72 times stronger at trapping in heat as carbon dioxide is, on a 20-year period. But usually, methane can only stay in the atmosphere for around a decade before it is naturally removed. However, we are producing too much, which means there's an excessive amount of methane in the atmosphere, which in turn warms the Earth. All of these excess gases create the enhanced greenhouse effect. This is happening right now. But what happens if this enhanced greenhouse effect continues? With the polar ice caps melting due to the rise in temperature, which is caused by CO2 emissions, there will be about a 5-meter increase in sea levels, sinking countries like Kiribati, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Rarotonga, just to name a few. These are popular holiday destinations, and not only are they for holidays, people live there. They will have no home. But with more water in the ocean and a hotter atmosphere, what happens? Because of the hotter atmosphere, more water will be evaporated, causing more tropical cyclones. These cyclones would be more than half a category higher than today's category 5. So do we make a new category? 6? This extreme also works the other way around. Extreme droughts. Inland today will become a drought area. It will be so hot it could be uninhabitable. These extremes could crush the economy, and many of inland America's farming zone would be completely destroyed. And these supply America and the world with a lot of its food and produce. These will not be the only areas affected. Many places and real estate all over the world will be lost due to extreme tropical cyclones and rising sea levels.
But there is still hope for our planet. There is a hope for us to combat the enhanced greenhouse effect if we work together as a species and convert all of our factories, cars, and other polluters to clean energy, like geothermal, solar, tidal, and even wind. This is possible, but it will take a huge effort. Do your part and save the world.